So we are just roughly 9 days away from the official release of The Marvels by Disney and Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, and even director Nia DaCosta, who by the way has said the absolute worst things about this movie inadvertently, saying that it's going to be the wackiest and silliest MCU film of all time, is really not the best thing that you would want to really say to everyone that would have even a remote level of interest in seeing this film. And not to mention, we already know that the entire plot leaked for the Marvels just like a day or two ago, and it's not looking good at all in the least for Disney and the MCU. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Brie Larson is that we know that she is definitely up there on the insufferable list, right, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge and other actresses out there like Rachel Zegler and Amber Heard. But at the same exact time, we know that Brie Larson is very full of herself. She always tends to be very egotistically driven, saying that everything has to be about her and all these different aspects. The thing about Brie Larson right now is that we know that the test screening for the Marvels was a disaster to the point where Kevin Feige really had Nia DaCosta dial back on the number of scenes that Brie Larson was involved with for the Marvels. And at the same exact time, we also know that Brie Larson, of all people, is somebody that really can't promote this film because of the whole SAG-AFTRA situation. Now, let's get into the actual specifics about what's really going on here. Now, on top of everything, with the Marvels set to become the MCU's biggest failure at the box office, one major development has to do with Brie Larson's status in Hollywood as an actress in the wake of all the Disney drama. One significant update regarding this is that both Universal Studios and Warner Brothers have officially finalized their action of blacklisting Brie Larson as a result of what happened with the Marvels, and learning internally that Disney ended up cutting back significant footage of Larson in the Marvels due to her causing a very poor test screening for the film's latest cut that Kevin Feige made some changes to. Now, Universal Studios recently fired and dropped Brie Larson completely from the Fast and Furious franchise for a planned all-female-led cast for Fast and Furious as a movie starring Charlize Theron and other actresses involved in the Fast saga that are planned to band together in an Avengers-style movie against new foes. Larson was already locked in for the role to return as Mr. Nobody's daughter, and was recently blacklisted completely from not just the franchise, but from Universal entirely. Warner Brothers was also set to bring back Larson in a planned sequel to Kong Skull Island. Larson was locked in also to become a big part of their Monsterverse for a multi-film deal. Now guys, let me just say one thing about this, is the fact that we have a lot of studios that were actually on the fence of blacklisting and wanting nothing to do with Brie Larson anymore, those of which involved Universal and Warner Brothers, who worked with her heavily before in the past. The fact that they are now diverting from her, they want nothing to do with her, they never want to give her an acting gig because of learning about what happened internally over at Disney between the failed test screening and how Nia DaCosta was actually instructed by Disney to cut back on many different scenes of that film for the Marvels. This is exactly why this movie's gonna fail. They poured so much money, hundreds of millions of dollars, into the budget of the Marvels, and it's expected to do, if not as poor as The Flash, maybe even worse. And that just goes to show you that this movie is going to be very short-lived in theaters. You're going to see it debut on Disney Plus probably less than 2 months from now. I almost guarantee it. Now, the thing about the Marvels right now is that we know that Nia DaCosta has expressed this thoroughly, time and time again, that Brie Larson feels that she was treated unfairly, about how she was kind of put to the wayside in this film, that she was not the star, that she was not the main focus, and she never wanted to be a part of an ensemble cast. Brie Larson did not support that, and it's something that she was essentially forced into, because she wanted the actual Captain Marvel sequel to debut first, before going on to do the Marvels. Now, we already know at the same exact time that Bob Iger, the board, etc., they're beginning to realize who is box office poison and who is not. And it's become at a point where it's getting very embarrassing for Disney at this point. They are already projecting Wish, their new movie called Wish, to not perform as previously expected with higher numbers. This is going to be their last saving grace of 2023, and it's not looking good either on that front. Now, moving onwards. Now, Brie and her team, which involves her agent and manager, are already attempting to challenge those studios like Universal and WB and reason with them in a desperate attempt to keep Larson on those projects, both of which were multi-film deals by Universal that would span at least a decade. Larson is reportedly already blaming biased opinions on her firing and blacklisting from multiple studios, including Disney, who recently dropped her for massive cameos from Deadpool 3 and multiple cameos from new Marvel TV shows in the works. She was even supposed to get a Captain Marvel direct sequel that was all cancelled and axed due to the failed test screening for the Marvels. To top things all off, even Nissan is now officially phasing out Brie Larson's presence in their commercials, and they no longer want to work with her in the later half of next year for their Nissan Z commercials. Larson is already preparing to make a bold and public statement about the unfairness from Hollywood and the studios after the SAG strike ends, very much like how Rachel Zegler is planning all of that out right now, with her firing and blacklisting from multiple Hollywood studios after all the Snow White drama that took place. Now, with many of Brie's scenes already cut from the Marvels after Disney reduced her scenes by roughly 30% from the final cut of the film, you know things are going badly. Now look, the fact that they dialed back on 30%, roughly speaking, of Brie's scenes, that is a disaster. That's how bad Brie's acting reportedly was in this film. The dialogue was very out of place and cringeworthy, and it does fall directly in line with what Nia DaCosta said. As if she was doing some kind of self-sabotage, I don't know, but she said that this is going to be the wackiest and silliest MCU movie of all time. I don't know, like I said before, I don't know why a director would want to even say that, as if that's a good thing, but it's not. You know, we know that this movie is going to really be the lowest point in the MCU. Everyone knows it, Disney knows it, and that's why they're already beginning to back out of funding their marketing. That's why you're not seeing as many commercials as you would expect to see on television or online. Look guys, we're 9 days away from this thing releasing, and a lot of you guys are reaching out to me saying, where's the commercials? Where's the ads? You're only seeing them every now and again, not quite rapidly, right? And they poured $100 million plus into the marketing of the Marvels, and they're trying to do some last minute cutbacks. That just goes to show you that this movie is not going to perform well, not because of the box office strictly, but also because of Brie Larson's acting, and it's really going to create a ripple effect, I believe, at least for 2024, in people's trust with how Disney handles the MCU and just everything Disney moving onwards. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to hear what you all have to say about Brie's situation in Hollywood, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.